first of all, as we do, okay, make sure that you get your free copy of The Forbidden Secrets or the Goodie Box, what your father didn't tell you and your mother didn't know. Go to my website right now, okay? If you're new to Doc Reid and what I do and all my relationship stuff, go to ChristopherReid.org, get that. And if you have any troubles downloading it, email me at chris@ChristopherReid.org, and I'll send you the PDF and the Kindle version of that. But that is a great installment on your diamond status and realizing that and starting to live that. Okay, so make sure you get that. Okay, so we hear this concept all the time about generational curses, and I believe I can clearly see the I guess the effects of it. Okay, just when I see people dealing with relationship issues and how there's so much dysfunction going on, so much baggage. Well, the question is, how is it that what happened with my great grandparents has anything to do with me and what I'm dealing with in my relationships right now? Okay, well, think of it like this. If you have a pond, it's very still, okay, and you take your finger and you stick it in the pond, then it's going to create ripples. Now, the interesting thing about the ripples is this, that as the ripples go out, they get larger. Okay, so how does that relate to what we're talking about with the generational curses? Well, the source of the problem, where it originated, as it goes on, okay, when we think about the scripture, which is always referenced when we talk about generational curses, that the sins or the iniquity of the fathers will be visited upon the children and the children's children to the third and fourth generation. Well, this visiting, these are the ripples. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that in intensity that it increases, but the reach of it is far more, okay, expansive. So now it started with one person. That one person has 12 children, okay, and they pass down that sense of hurt and pain and dysfunction down to those 12, and then those 12 have 12. Okay, now you start to see how this becomes something that can get out of control very quickly, and this generational curse thing that we're talking about. So even if you have one little leg of it, all right, that begins to deal with the issue, it still has all these other little legs and tentacles out here where the dysfunction and the pain is out of control and hasn't been dealt with. All right, so part of the issue is once this problem initially happened, okay, once the pain originally happened, they didn't understand how to deal with it. Okay, so when you talk about that in the context of what we're talking about in our society, you think of like slavery and how our foremothers were brought to this country. All right, they didn't come over here on a Carnival cruise ship. All right, and there was no Isaac on the ship who was a bartender, and there was no activity director. No, you were brought over here against your will. It wasn't a fun trip, but in that, okay, that created a lot of pain and hurt and things that ultimately were passed down. So the thing that we had in our community to help us deal with that oftentimes was church and our relationship with God. And what that did do for us is it gave us at least some hope that maybe I might not get it here, but at least I can look forward to getting it over there, and things will get better by and by. But that didn't really resolve the issue at hand, meaning if you had control issues, if you had, issues of being compliant, it didn't really heal that. All right, but at the same time, you didn't have a lot of resources for that. So if you think of the concept of PTSD, all right, which means that, okay, you deal with something now, it happens now, but the emotional effects of it don't come out until later. And then that's what we're talking about here when it comes to these issues coming up in our kids and, generations to come. So as a result of all this pain and all of these ripples that we're talking about, we developed coping mechanisms that told us that, what happens in this house stays in this house. And, just to name some of the things that were caused as a result of what we went through, you're talking about families being torn apart. You're talking about, the fathers being in the household, obviously, being as a result of that, and then alcohol and drug addiction and, anger issues and promiscuity and, inferiority complexes and self, hate. And I mean, so it just goes on and on and on, the different tentacles and, legs and arms that this problem has taken on. And you can see it, the results of it now in terms of what we're dealing with. So when we talk about things that came out of that mindset and that culture and that hurt, what happens in this house stays in this house. And that's literally and figuratively meaning the house here, my temple. All right. What I'm thinking on, what has affected me, I'm not going to talk about. I'm just going to swallow it and keep it moving. Or this house where we all live, okay, where we commune. All right. You don't talk about it outside of there. So there's very little opportunity for it to really get dealt with and addressed properly. Also, one of the things that we hear is, kids are just be seen and not heard. And so what that happens is, what that creates with children is, you don't say anything. So what about if somebody touches a child? A lot of times that happens where somebody touched a child inappropriately. Child didn't feel like they really had an opportunity or the voice or the platform to say anything about it. So that child had to deal with something themselves that they were not emotionally, mentally, and physically prepared to deal with and to stomach. All right. So these are just some of the ramifications that happen as a result of this mindset of not healing and how we develop things within our culture. All right. To accommodate that. So now as we move forward and, we think about things like, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are older, they will not depart from it. That's normally looked at in a very positive light. Okay. But that can mean you can train up a child in a way that they shouldn't go. And once they are older, it's difficult for them to depart from that as well. And so now this is more so the case, what we have created for a lot of people emotionally. If you have children yourselves, you might start to see even the effects of, some of the things that you've dealt with and your parents have dealt with now trying to show up in your kids. Or even if you don't have kids, you see your nieces and nephews and they're dealing with some of the craziness that your brothers and sisters had dealt with. All right. And if you don't stop it, okay, it's going to continue to grow. So my question for you is, as you are trying to go out and you're trying to, seek out relationships and love and all of that, how is that working for you when you have generations of hurt and fear and abandonment, okay, living inside you that have not been dealt with? All right. It cannot help but wreak havoc on your situation. All right. And a lot of times people are amazed when their relationships end up in utter failure, but it's the result of these things that have not been resolved. Okay. So what in you needs to be healed? All right. Is it the fact that you maybe have been the doormat? All right. You have been conditioned to think that it was your job, by your parents and your upbringing, that it was your job to please, to be accommodating. All right. And if you wanted to get love or you wanted to, be accepted in certain ways, this is how you did it. You laid down, you made yourself the sacrificial lamb. So, what happens in your relationships as you move forward, now you project that parental role onto the man in your relationship that you are trying to please. Okay. You're trying to prove to him over and over and over and over again that you are indeed worthy of his love. All right. And he just dangles that carrot in front of you. All right. My thing for you is, how is that working out for you? I would not think that it is, because that's not love. Okay. Maybe your thing is, you're so guarded because when you grew up, you endured so much abuse and pain, emotionally, physically, and mentally, that you had to find a safe place to run to, okay, emotionally. So you found that little place in your heart just so you could try to keep your little childhood sanity. All right. And then as you got older, though, you never came out of that place. You still stayed there. It was your coping mechanism. So now if anybody gets within 100 yards of you, your heart, okay, and you feel like you're about to be hurt or threatened in some way, you're fight or flight. Okay. Either, you fighting. Okay. You're not going to touch me. No, not today. You're not. Okay. Or you're running. Okay. You got the Nikes in the, in the Michael Kors bag and you in the wind. Okay. But the problem with that is you never stop long enough to just sit and deal and heal. Okay. How's that working for you? Or maybe your thing is to control. All right. Maybe when you were growing up, either you felt like you were in a situation where you just had absolutely no control as a child. All right. So, and you hated that. Okay. It could have been an abusive situation, or maybe you were made to feel like in order for you to get love and whatnot, you had to be the performer. Okay. So whatever the case may be, you grew up feeling this way. And so now you're the overachiever, you're the perfectionist, you're this, and then you're the manager. So you manage the relationships, you manage the man. And then of course you get to the point where most managers do and say, I'm tired of managing and I want somebody who is willing to lead. Okay. But the challenge is, and I will caution you that when you have this, you try to take this stance that if they don't lead the way that you sanction, okay, then it's going to be very difficult for you to not jump to that position again of taking control, because you'll feel like, okay, I wouldn't do it that way. So that makes me feel like I'm not in control. And now I got to do something about it. All right. So all of these, if you identify with any of them, okay, you need to ask yourself, all right, how am I going to move past it? What am I going to do? I'm tired of going around this mountain. It ain't working for me. I ain't getting no younger. All right. My thing is, if I'm talking to you, as usual, like I said, I'm a voice out here crying in the wilderness of these relationship streets. Get at me. You know, we can set up a 30-minute free consultation, find out, identify what's going on with you. But more so than identify what's going on with you. All right. That's only half of the equation. We need to solve the problem. All right. So we can talk about how coaching can help you get there so that you can be free, so that you can start living the life that you want to live. All right. And also, if you're interested in the group coaching that I talked about, I'm thinking about starting that, where I'm breaking it down. I think it's going to be you. It's going to be you, your boo, to I do. I think so. Maybe that's cheesy. I don't know. But we're going to talk about, you, how you can deal with your issues, your baggage getting healed. Then we're also going to deal with, the boo part of it. Men and women think totally differently. That's just is what it is. And the lack of understanding about how those differences are, which is what causes a lot of issues. Then the I do part is, how do you bring that together to create the kind of love that lasts a lifetime, which ultimately that's what I'm thinking that you want. So if you're interested in that, it all starts with contacting me. Go to my website, christopherreid.org. All right. Hopefully that doesn't look backwards. And contact me. Also, you can follow me on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, YouTube. All my videos out there. Reid, Reid, CEG1. I think that's my username. So it's a lot of relationship videos out there. And that's pretty much all I have. If you know that you've been dealing with a generational curse, stop it in its tracks with you. Don't allow it to go to the next generation. Okay. You have that power. All right. Ask God to help you. All right. And if you know or believe that I can help you and assist in some way, reach out to me. I'll talk to you later. Peace.